Hey, it's Jorge from brewbeerandDrinkit.com, and today I'm going to show you how to brew a pumpkin porter. For ingredients, what I have today is 8 pounds of Maris Otter malt. I have 3/4 pounds of brown amber malt. I have a 1/4 pound of pale chocolate malt. This is the 200 Lovey Bond one. And then I have a 1/2 pound of chocolate malt, 350 Lovey Bond. This is the Thomas Fawcett one. I have 0.15 pounds of Victory malt and about 0.15 pounds of black patent malt. Now, for hops, I'm going to be using Czech Sass hops, and these are going to be just 1 ounce that I'm going to be throwing in about halfway through the boil, and then I'm using European ale yeast. Now, I really wanted to use my recipe from my last pumpkin porter. However, when I went to my homebrew supply store, they didn't have the same yeast strain that I got last time, and they didn't have the hops that I used last time. And since I really wanted to brew today, I had no choice but to basically come up with my own version at the supply store. So what I did from last time was just a couple of changes where I added the pale malt, the pale chocolate malt, malt that I haven't really brewed with, so I want to kind of see what that does to this beer. And I'm also adding a little bit of that black patent malt. So those are the changes that I've made. Other than that, I really wanted to use the porter recipe that I did last time. But other than that, I mean, the recipe is pretty much the same, following pretty much the same process. And so let's go ahead and show you how I got started.
For this beer, I decided to go with 1 sugar pie pumpkin and then half of each acorn squash kabocha and half of butternut squash. The hardest thing about this is slicing through these titanium-like vegetables, and I strongly recommend you get a sharp knife and be careful when cutting these. After cutting, you want to scoop out the seeds from all of these and place them in your baking container. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees, and you're going to bake these for about an hour. Now, after that hour has gone by, you want to pull them out. Now, I like to scoop out when they're hot. They seem to be easier to scoop out. Obviously, you have to be careful not to burn yourself, but you want to scoop out and get all the meat out. I pulled about 5 pounds, just under 5 pounds for this beer. So brew day, I went ahead and did my salt additions, 1/2 teaspoon of each gypsum and calcium chloride, and just about 1/4 teaspoon of sodium bicarbonate. And then after that, added my pumpkin. You can see it's all nice and mashed up. And then I went ahead and added my strike water. Went for about 1.75 quarts per pound of grain, and my strike temperature, my mash temperature was 154 degrees Fahrenheit. So you want to make sure that the pumpkin dissolves, and this is going to turn into a gelatin-like thing. After about 15 minutes, check your pH, make sure you are within range. And now for mashing out, you want to go as high as you possibly can without pulling any tannin. So about 170 to 175. I was right about 173 degrees when mashing out. After that, you want to recirculate and start to lauter. Now, during this time, you want to pray that you do not get a stuck sparge. And I did end up getting stuck sparge, but it wasn't too big of a deal. If you do, just basically unclog your system and repeat the process. So did a batch sparge for this beer. So same process, just add some water, stir up the mash, recirculate, and then went ahead and collected my 6.5 gallons of wort. So it is possible to use a pump. You just have to be careful and slow down the pump as much as you can. That way you can avoid more stuck sparges. So while transferring, you want to be bringing this to a boil. And during the boil, we'll obviously watch out for your hot break. Now, while this is boiling, I went ahead and prepared my spices, and for this basically used 1/4 teaspoon ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of mace, my favorite teaspoon of pumpkin pie spices, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and then 1 teaspoon of allspice freshly grounded, and to make it look just a little bit fancier, a stick of actual cinnamon. So once I got my spices all taken care of, went ahead and added my hops of 30-minute addition, and after that went ahead and started to cool down my wort. Now before I started to cool down my wort, I went ahead and added the cinnamon, and I stir the wort just slightly enough to mix the cinnamon and the spices. You don't exactly want to aerate your wort, but you want those spices to mix in. After that, cool down your wort to yeast pitching temperature, transfer to your fermenter, and pitch your yeast. This beer I am fermenting right now at 64 degrees, and it's going strong. I am going to be updating as soon as it is ready. I'm expecting this beer to take probably about 4 to 6 months to condition and maybe get better as it ages. So stay tuned for the next video, and if you like this, make sure you like, comment, and or share this video.